no lives matter. This is a straight war, I'll be real with you. It's war, we're at war. This isn't like they say there's no friends at war. So I respect the guy, as you said, he's done well, all that good stuff, but we're fighting.
Like, not as of yet, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to go get my head bashed in. Sparring is sparring, and we can see some sort of technicality being shown. Now, a lot of people are calling it fake. They're saying that it's set.
Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, some of the best the sport's got in the heavyweight division. And he said there's no way these guys are actually going in there and sparring to the full extent. Look, you're a fighter. You've had so many camps throughout your life. Do you think Jake is almost asking them to go easy, or do you think this is proper sparring going on?
The point of sparring is to learn. The point of sparring is not for them to get in there and give Jake a concussion so he can't fight.
Anthony Joshua has openly questioned the authenticity of Jake Paul's knockout sparring footage, suggesting the clips overstate his impact. He emphasized that genuine sparring is competitive and demanding, adding that once the fight takes place, reality will be impossible to hide. Even while criticizing presentation, Joshua made it clear that he still views Paul as a legitimate opponent who deserves respect.
As a boxer?
Yeah, definitely. He's always wanted to be a boxer. He's got a stand-up game. I respect him as a boxer.
A number of observers have also taken aim at Paul's sparring videos, arguing that they're edited to showcase only his best moments, particularly knockdowns, while omitting the broader context of the sessions. Critics say that short highlight clips don't offer a meaningful evaluation of a fighter's form, suggesting that several uninterrupted rounds will be needed to judge performance fairly. They've also noted that the sparring partner featured in the knockout footage doesn't appear to be a high-caliber heavyweight, which would naturally make him more vulnerable than an elite opponent. Together, these points have fueled doubts about how accurately the clips reflect Paul's true readiness and whether selective highlights can really indicate how he performed against top-level competition.
Sparring videos, that I agree with that. If we're going to see that clip of you knocking this guy down, we want to see at least a full round. We want to see what you're actually doing. If you're going to show us knocking this guy down, show us more. Is his opponent any good? Okay, that's another very good question. His opponent may just be, and we couldn't really see much of him there. He didn't really throw a shot. His opponent might be a nobody. His opponent might be a guy who started box fit a few weeks ago. So that's a very good point. It's things like this we have to actually ask when we, boxers essentially putting up videos of them knocking people out. Who is this guy? You need to know that, because then that kind of qualifies that knockout or knockdown to be good or bad. Cheap.
Andrew Tate has also weighed in on Jake Paul's sparring footage, arguing that the heavyweights involved aren't applying genuine pressure. He explained that sparring is meant to be a learning tool, but in these situations the partners appear to be pulling their punches. According to Tate, because they're being paid by Paul, their priority is simply complete the rounds rather than seriously test him. As a result, the exchanges lack full power and realistic defensive resistance. Tate added that while this kind of work can help Paul practice techniques, it falls short of recreating the intensity and danger of facing a truly competitive, elite-level opponent.
I think that's everything wrong with the sport.
I think as a boxing purist, it's quite upsetting to watch, young fighters struggle to pay the bills and struggle in little shithole gyms around the country trying to get big money fights and going through the Olympics and going through the amateurs and not being able to pay their bills. And I understand how frustrating that can be. So I think that's where the frustration comes from. I don't think it's everything that's wrong with boxing. I think that anything that gets people to tune in to a boxing match is good for the sport.
One more comment that he said was, Jake's been sparring Frank Sanchez, Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, some of the best the sport's got in the heavyweight division. And he said there's no way these guys are actually going in there and sparring to the full extent. Look, you're a fighter. You've had so many camps throughout your life. Do you think Jake is almost asking them to go easy, or do you think this is proper sparring going on?
The point of sparring is to learn. The point of sparring is not for them to get in there and give Jake a concussion so he can't fight. So are they trying to knock Jake out? No. But are they giving him enough work for him to learn?
Gareth A. Davies was blunt in his warning when discussing Jake Paul with Duke, cautioning that Paul could find himself in serious trouble once the fight begins. Referencing the brutal knockout he witnessed Francis Ngannou endure, Davies emphasized that this matchup carries far greater danger for Paul than many seem to acknowledge. He argued that facing an experienced heavyweight like Anthony Joshua presents a level of risk Paul has never encountered. In Davies' view, the reality of that step-up will become clear the moment the opening bell sounds, underscoring that this is a genuine test with real consequences, not merely a spectacle or promotional exercise.
Yeah, go on, I watched him knock out Francis Ngannou inside 2 rounds.
Yeah.
How can that go 3 rounds with Jake Paul?
It's very hard to knock out somebody that just hasn't come to fight and somebody that's just trying to survive, and that's what I think will happen to Jake Paul.
Do you think he'll run?
I think he'll run like a thief in the night. Once he sees the size of Joshua, those little 10-ounce gloves that they're going to be wearing, he's going to be petrified and his backside will fall out.
I went to the press conference in Miami for that a couple of weeks ago, and he was planning to motorboat AJ, and he thought differently of it when he was standing with him.
Good luck with that, mate.
No, AJ was, he'd have got motorboated out of there.
Listen, mate, listen. Good luck with that, because if he starts out with AJ, puts his chin out and starts trying to goad him in, I think Anthony Joshua will definitely iron him out early.
Do you think he finishes his boxing career then?
Let's hope so.
If Jake Paul does something weird and wins, is that impossible?
Nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Highly unlikely, but not impossible.
If you'd been invited to fight Jake Paul for 25, I've heard it's 25 million. That's me behind the scenes. Other people have told me it's 60. Other people have told me it's more for Anthony Joshua. If you had been a current world champion and you'd been offered that fight with Jake Paul, would you have taken it?
100%.
So he had to take it.
He had to take it.
So you've got nothing against him taking it?
I've got nothing against him taking it, spending the money even. Still got nothing against that. My concern is for the health and safety of Jake Paul and the sport of boxing.
Because boxing will be pulled into the dock if something happens to Jake. It would never have been licensed.
Paul has been open about how demanding his recent training has been, saying in interviews that rounds of elite heavyweights have taken a physical toll, even leaving him with a damaged nose. While the promotional clips focus on knockout moments, a closer look at the sparring tells a more nuanced story. Analysts who reviewed the footage point out that some partners appear to overreact as punches, with a few even drifting toward the ropes after relatively light contact. That has raised questions about how representative the highlights really are. Observers caution that while the videos may impress casual viewers, they don't necessarily indicate readiness for a fighter with Joshua's level of experience, timing, and power.
Noses moved a couple millimeters to this camp. I'm not gonna lie, this sparring, the heavyweights, my nose has a slight little something in there. A guy by the name of Frank Sanchez, he definitely cracked it a little bit. But yeah, man, it's bad. Wait, hold on. Look at that, dude. I'm like Squidward, dog. But don't respect me for getting in there. Respect me when I beat his ass. I'm not just walking into a fight. I'm going to win. That's what's gonna shock the world. I will become the king of boxing.
Analysts who have examined Jake Paul's knockout sparring footage have questioned how representative it really is. They've noted that the partners often appear to react far more dramatically than expected, at times drifting toward the ropes or corner after relatively modest punches. Those reactions can create the impression of overwhelming dominance, even if they don't accurately show how effective Paul would be in a true competitive exchange. By conceding position so easily, the sparring partners help produce highlights that amplify Paul's power beyond what might translate against a top-level opponent. Commentators stress that while the clips work well as promotional material, they shouldn't be viewed as reliable evidence of readiness to face an experienced heavyweight.
Did it or something like that. Like, even if you, especially if you see a replay, sometimes it happens so fast. Like, if it's a replay, usually like, oh, there's the one, or like you get a reaction when someone gets hit. You're not like, oh, I wonder if. Like, if you're questioning it, then typically the fighter gave in or decided to kneel down or push himself out of the ring or wanted to get out of the fight. You can tell right away. Like, when I land a body shot on somebody or when I got hit by a body shot, you could tell. I don't know, you guys can make your own assessment, but to me, this is a little sketchy. To me, the person he was boxing, obviously.
BJ Flores, who has previously worked with Paul, offered added context on the thinking behind these choices. He explained that Paul's objective goes beyond entertainment, aiming instead to demonstrate that he can compete with genuine professional boxers. Unlike earlier matchups against celebrities or athletes from other disciplines, Paul is now deliberately seeking out bigger, more technically sound opponents. Flores noted that this approach reflects both ambition and willingness to take real risks, suggesting that Paul is intent on moving beyond a label of novelty attraction and being taken seriously within the sport.
Very tough fight, and to anybody in the industry, Anthony Joshua is a world champion, a gold medalist. This is a big difference from anybody else that Jake's fought in the past. But he's looking for these big challenges. He wants to fight the toughest guys, and I think with Anthony Joshua, he got exactly that. I mean, Anthony Joshua is a guy I would have never dreamed in a million years Jake would have fought him in his fifth year boxing in a fight situation like this. I thought he would have given it a little more time, but I mean, this is an extremely difficult fight. Anthony Joshua is 6'6", 245 pounds, extremely dangerous, gold medalist, world champion, and I think this is a very, very difficult fight for Jake. So I wouldn't have made this fight, no.
What do you give it in terms of percentage-wise? Like 60% AJ wins, 40% Jake Paul wins, or 50-50, 70-30? How do you give it?
Well, I mean, you got to go up when you go off the resumes. That's what I go off of. You know, a lot of people will say potential, like, you know, oh, this could happen, this could happen. I only go off like who's beating who. So if you look at it on paper, it doesn't look like Jake has any chance on paper. But I think that's probably why he wanted to make this fight. And like I said, I'm not in the camp, so I don't know all the you know, the conversations that are going on in camp Jake Paul right now. But on paper, this looks like an extremely difficult fight. And any boxing experts, you know, that I've talked to, whether it's former fighters or whoever, just they don't give Jake any chance at all. I'm not saying he doesn't have any chance. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, you know, everybody in the know-how as far as the boxing world, they're like, Jake has zero chance to win this fight. And, you know, it is on paper, though. It does seem like it's early. And it does, you know, seem like it's premature, in my opinion.
So what are you giving it then? A 90-10?
You know, like AJ's had, I don't know, probably I want to say 13.
Even with that intent, questions remain about the types of sparring partners Paul has chosen. Some analysts point out that although his partners are heavyweights, they differ greatly from Joshua in reach, technical polish, and adaptability. The widely shared knockout of Greg Hardy, for instance, has been labeled by critics as potentially misleading, with Hardy viewed as easy to catch in the footage overstating Paul's control. Observers argue that meaningful preparation for Joshua would require partners capable of mirroring his specific blend of speed, power, and ring intelligence, something they believe the current selection may not fully replicate. As a result, debate continues over how realistic and valuable Paul's recent sparring work truly is.
Paul is sparring all the wrong boxers. His preparation for the Anthony Joshua fight, and let me tell you why. The names that he's got here are Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, and Lawrence Okoli. They're all professional heavyweights. They are all probably top 20 heavyweights in the world right now, which is fair enough for Jake to bring them in. But in terms of preparing for an opponent, Jared Anderson is too cat and mouse. His game isn't about pure power. It is not about boxing as a boxer puncher. It is very much an outboxer. Anthony Joshua is not going to do that. Frank Sanchez has his own kind of unique style, but I would still put him in that category as almost a plodding heavyweight. He's very, very slow. His hand speed's not quite there. Defensively, he's not that switched on. And Lawrence Okoli is very, very much a hit and grab style heavyweight. Seen Okoli, his fights are a little bit boring. Some elements of his game are similar to Anthony Joshua. He's probably the closest match, I would say, out of these guys. But the problem is with Okoli, he'll throw maybe one or two shots and then he will hold. And when people throw shots back at him, he will hold. Anthony Joshua, he's never been the best at holding. He's never been the best in the clinch. His inside work's not quite there. The height and somewhat the weight would probably be quite the same for these guys, but in terms of actually replicating a boxing style, it would have been far, far better, in my opinion, getting somebody in like maybe a Tony Yoka. Even potentially drafting in Daniel Dubois if he's available. Maybe even a Filip Hergovic. No, Richard Riakpor's just had a fight, but Riakpor, in my opinion, would have been a better pick than all of these guys. Yeah, that is why Jake Paul has chosen the wrong sparring partners. Why this fight's going to be horrible for Jake. But I'll give him his respect. Fair play for bringing actual pro heavyweights in for sparring. Let me know in the comments, do you think these guys are good sparring partners? Think I'm wrong? Or do you agree with me? To improve Jake Paul's chances in the fight. Hit that follow button if you made it this far, and as always, I like a favourite, saving a share, a replay.
Chael Sonnen weighed in on remarks from former heavyweight champion Bermane Stiverne, who claimed he'd heard reports of Paul picking up injuries during camp. Stiverne suggested that Paul may have suffered a black eye in sparring, raising concerns about whether the fight's timeline could be affected. He even hinted that there were internal worries a bout might be called off, characterizing the build-up as heavily driven by publicity. Sonnen expanded on the point, noting that while the event's hype is undeniable, the physical risks Paul is assuming are very real, and if handled recklessly, the spectacle could quickly turn into something far more serious. Still, despite those concerns, the fight's commercial appeal and media pull remain massive.
Going on. Lawrence gave him a black eye or something from what I heard, and the fight is not happening after those sparring sessions. It might be a lie or it might be true. I don't know. Just what I heard, so I wouldn't be surprised. If I was his advisor, talking about Jake Paul, I wouldn't take that fight, Stiverne added. I mean, business-wise, it makes sense. The numbers are great and everything, but yeah,
If I was like his brother, Logan, I would tell him, don't take the fight. I'd rather see you win. Somebody sent me the face-to-face. You could tell. Anthony's language showed he was not scared or whatever. In my point of view, this is going to be a disaster. That breaks my heart. I'm sorry. I am sorry to Bermain Sterveen that the educational system has failed you so greatly. I'm sorry to Bermain Sterveen that you are the heavyweight champion of the world. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your name right. I apologize to Bermain Sterveen that you are the heavyweight champion of the WBC, and I have never read your name until right here, right now. Now, I'm not looking to be a dick about it, but this is bad. This is very bad stuff. I heard somewhere not long ago, I don't know where. Well, Bermain, let's help retrace your steps. Where have you been recently? Did you hear it today? Did you hear it at the gym where you told us on the phone? I know you didn't read it somewhere. So, Bermain has information, but he doesn't know where he...
Analyst Joey Knight noted that Paul is fully aware of how marquee fights command worldwide attention and significant financial upside. Stepping into the ring with a well-known former world champion like Joshua all but guarantees coverage across mainstream outlets, social media, and core boxing circles, with the event designed to spark maximum discussion and engagement. Knight added that Paul's team has been effective in sustaining that momentum, emphasizing that Paul understands exactly what's at stake and isn't approaching the challenge recklessly. Instead, he recognizes both the exposure and the potential long-term career advantages tied to a bout of the scale.
A lot of cash, maybe not as much as the Anthony Joshua fight, but a lot of cash, and can still have a serious chance of going on to earn even more paydays. Whereas the damage that it could do to his body could be irreversible for that opportunity to earn money in a boxing career going forward. So is this the retirement bag, or do you actually think you can win? Because I read a study recently, and I believe it said something along the lines of men overemphasize or overcalculate their ability to fight by about 500 times. And I'm saying Jake Paul would probably need to be 500 times better to stand a chance against Anthony Joshua. And I can't get how he doesn't already know this. Surely he has sparred with heavyweights. Surely the recent sparring that he had with the likes of Shakur Stevenson and with the likes of Ray Ford, amongst others, Badu Jack, surely that would have taught you that there are levels to boxing. And if these small guys are able to show you things that you had no idea that you were vulnerable to in a boxing ring, what happens when someone who hits 4, 5, 6 times as hard as that does the exact same thing to you and lands it on your chin? The whole reason of why I know where I am in the influencer boxing scene, in the misfit scene, is because of the level that I have sparred at. I've sparred boys that have gone on to box for world titles. I've sparred with English champions, and I've sparred with...
Adding to the wider discussion, legendary ring announcer Michael Buffer commented on the cultural influence Jake and Logan Paul have had on modern boxing. He observed that the brothers have drawn in a younger, digitally driven audience, sparking interest in events that might not have captured attention otherwise. Their involvement has energized boxing promotion, helping build a fan base that engages through social media alongside traditional broadcasts. Buffer acknowledged that their presence remains controversial among purists, but emphasized that it brings a new dynamic to the sport and ensures that matchups like Paul versus Joshua command global attention.
And Logan, first of all, are fantastic athletes. You know what Logan does with the WWE and what Jake does with boxing, he knocks people out and everything. And they both have massive fan bases. And for me, it's great to see people get young people that follow them that didn't have like they don't remember Ali or Joe Frazier or whatever. It's not in their wheelhouse. So it's great to see them developing fight fans and a big fight atmosphere. So it's very exciting.
These two stood face to face, and the comment section on the internet was going crazy. They were like, call the ambulance now, basically. Like Anthony Joshua looks dangerous standing next to him.
Anthony Joshua is, at this time, and has been for years, the biggest puncher in boxing. He's a devastating puncher. So I got to give Jake a lot of credit for wanting to take this fight.
Yeah, a lot of people saying it's not smart. If he somehow was able to surprise the world, what does this do for him?
The word would be surprised if he shocked the world. But that's exactly why you got to give him credit. He wants to do it. He trains hard, he works hard, and he has a lot of faith in himself. So we'll see what happens.
Technically, though, what's the biggest concern for you? What's the biggest tip you could give Jake, knowing that you've watched Anthony so many times?
That wraps things up for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one.